It was a weekend of records for Max Verstappen as he turned back the clock 2 years to remind us all of just how good he and Red Bull can be. He set a new lap record at Monza. He lapped so quickly on Sunday that the race was the fastest ever F1 race. His win returned him to his 50% win rate in the ground effect era, all of which he did while securing the largest winning margin of the season. It was certainly a surprise from Red Bull, but at a track where McLaren's big advantage was nullified, Red Bull just nailed Max's setup. However, Verstappen's victory was overshadowed by McLaren's team orders in the closing laps of the race. Today, I'll check out McLaren's pit stop mistake, why it was a dangerous decision for the team, and why they're lucky they pulled it on Oscar Piastri, not someone else. So, don't go anywhere. Fighting for F1's Drivers' Championship is supposed to be a knives-out battle between big personalities. It's meant to shatter teams, create career-long rivalries, and generate the iconic storylines that hour-long Sky Sports F1 documentaries are made about to fill the time between the actual racing. This season, though, it's different. How is Martin Brundle going to narrate a dramatic retelling of the battle between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris? It'll get to the Monza chapter, and he'll have to say something like, "Then, just when it looked like Oscar was going to extend his lead, he instead very politely let Lando past him like the jolly good gentleman he is." It's not exactly the stuff that legends are built on, is it? But it's just how this McLaren team operates. McLaren's use of team orders in Italy once again overshadowed the race and created more controversy around the team when the focus should be on track and the incredibly close title battle between the two drivers. They ordered Piastri to cede second place to teammate Norris after a slow pit stop, dropped the Briton behind the Australian after he'd been running in second for most of the race. The circumstances around how and why that happened are important. McLaren unconventionally pitted Piastri before Norris as they left their pit stops late in the race in the hope of a safety car that could give them a chance to attack Red Bull's Verstappen. They made the decision to pit Norris first at his own request. On the Sky Sports commentary, Martin Brundle and David Croft took the opinion that Lando had said to pit Oscar first to protect him from Charles Leclerc. However, having reviewed Lando's team radio during the race, at no point was Charles Leclerc spoken about by Lando or his race engineer. Oscar was told over the radio that they had pitted him first to cover off Leclerc, but that was never part of the discussion with Lando. When Oscar came out, he had a 4-second advantage over Leclerc, so the Ferrari driver was never a threat. Lando likely made the decision to not pit first because he wanted to be out on track for as long as possible in hopes of a safety car. A safety car would have allowed him to reduce his time lost during a pit stop by half and could have gotten him ahead of Verstappen after the pit stop, giving him the best chance at a race win. Lando's decision had nothing to do with Charles Leclerc and everything to do with playing the percentages in hopes of securing a vital race win in pursuit of the driver's title. After Piastri had a clean stop on lap 45 with 8 to go, when Norris stopped a lap later, a fault with a wheel gun delayed him and his stop was 4 seconds longer than his teammates. That put him behind Piastri, but the team ordered the championship leader to relinquish the position, arguing that it was a bit like Hungary last year. That was a reference to Norris letting Piastri by to take his first win after team strategy reversed their positions for tactical reasons. Piastri responded that he disagreed but followed the order anyway. However, despite what McLaren said, this wasn't exactly the same. In Hungary last year, the threat from behind was pretty distant, but the decision was made by the pit wall to protect against that. In Monza yesterday, the decision was made on track by the driver to try and gain an advantage. Also, and this part is very important, the switching of positions in Monza happened because of a slow stop, something that Piastri said the team had spoken about previously. When asked to swap the positions, Piastri replied over team radio, "I mean, we said a slow stop was part of racing, so I don't really get what's changed here. But if you really want me to do it, then I'll do it." McLaren have always been very clear that both drivers know the rules of engagement. Papaya rules, as they call them, are clearly defined and they both agree to race by them. But in the closing laps at Monza, McLaren changed the rules in the favour of Norris. After the race, Piastri's tone was very diplomatic, something that has come to be expected from the young Aussie. If Oscar does have an issue with what happened, then it's going to be spoken about behind the scenes and away from the press. Speaking to Sky Sports later, Piastri was accepting of the decision, saying, "The decision to swap back was fair. Lando was ahead of me the whole race. I don't have any issues with that." While, yes, it would have been a rough break for Lando had he finished behind Oscar due to a slow stop. But that is racing. These things happen. Piastri revealed during the race that McLaren, Lando and Oscar had all agreed with that as well. So what happens now? Because while they may all be best friends in front of the media, McLaren have changed the rules of engagement, and behind the scenes that is going to have consequences. Before I talk about that though, if you're enjoying the video and want to catch more news and analysis as this title battle comes down to the wire, then press the like button and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. The view of those at the track on what happened was made very clear during the race, in the celebrations after the race, and in the media pen as the fans left. Gianpiero Lambiase, Verstappen's race engineer, got on the radio to Max to let him know what happened. Norris and Piastri have swapped places, to which Verstappen responded in comical disbelief, "Ha, just because he had a slow stop." We all know exactly how Verstappen would have responded to that request to change places. Then, as Lando took to the podium, he was loudly booed by the crowd below, who obviously disagreed with what they'd seen on track. In the press ring after the race, Wolff called out McLaren for what he saw as a mistake. "There is no right and there is no wrong, and I'm curious to see how that pans out," Wolff said. "You set a precedent that is very difficult to undo. What if the team does another mistake and it's not a pit stop? Do you switch them around? But then equally, because of a team mistake, making a driver that is trying to catch up lose the points is not fair either." So I think we're going to get our response of whether that was right today towards the end of the season when it heats up. That is the question for McLaren and their two drivers. Come the end of the season, will the 6-point swing in favour of Norris make any difference? He currently still sits 31 points behind his teammate with 8 races remaining, meaning he needs to take more than 3.875 points per race, more than Piastri, to take the title. So if Norris finished second ahead of Piastri in third for the remaining races of the season, Oscar would still win the title. Now that's not going to happen. There are going to be more race wins for both of these drivers. But if Norris wins the title by less than 6 points, you'll have to look back at Monza and say that the team's decision last weekend was decisive to Norris's title. Is that really how Norris wants his first World Drivers' title to be remembered? Of course, the incredible back-and-forth battle between the two will be the main memory, but there'll always be that small asterisk. Oscar was actually asked if he may have cause to regret the decision if he lost the title by 3 points, but his answer was unequivocal. "I wouldn't regret it, no," he said. "It was a fair decision. Lando was ahead of me the whole race. It wasn't through any fault of his own. For me, that's fine. Ultimately, whoever wins the championship wants to have won it as much as they can through their own performances and things that they can control, and today that wasn't one of those things." Oscar seems like the kind of driver who can genuinely move past this decision by McLaren. He once again showed his maturity and commitment to the team in Monza. But if the roles had been reversed, would the same thing had happened? Looking back to Hungary in 2024, it took McLaren multiple laps of asking, then telling, then pleading with Lando to swap the positions before the British driver begrudgingly agreed. Considering the agreement between the McLaren drivers was that slow stops are a part of the racing, would Lando have swapped the positions back? Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.